What's up, Leafs fans? Welcome back to another Leafs Nation After Dark. I'm Zack Phillips, and tonight we're going to be breaking down game number 48 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning here tonight. What was actually a pretty electric game from this Leafs team on Prime. It seems like every time these guys go on Prime, I don't know if it's maybe just the Prime or if it's getting up and it's a coincidence because they're playing the Lightning that night, but a 5-3 victory for the Maple Leafs here tonight, and an exciting one. You get goals from Nylander, Matthews, Knies, couple from Knies, Marner with the empty netter, some of the big boys from Tampa getting on the board there as well. We'll break it all down. We'll dig into all of that. And we've got a special guest here tonight, which we will get to in a moment. But before we do, you guys know, and if you don't already, it's a presentation of Bet365, proud partner of the Leafs Nation pregame and the Leafs Nation After Dark. Open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. I see some comments in the chat here already. Oh, Zack can't start on time. Zack, you don't get the right to give the Leafs crap anymore if you don't start on time. Well, I was sitting there getting this very special guest of ours ready to go and making sure we were all set for his debut on the Leafs Nation YouTube channel, right here on the Leafs Nation After Dark. He's been on my show before. Actually, not only has he been on my show before, it wasn't my show when we first started. It was our show. Bring on the man himself, Josh Goodwin. Goody, welcome to the Leafs Nation After Dark for the first time ever. How you feeling?
Philly, I feel great, bro. How's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
I am so pumped to have you. This is a long time coming for us here on the After Dark show. People who have been following for a long time, there have been people asking, where'd you go? Why'd you leave this spot? Where's Josh? Is Goody going to come back on? Where is this guy? Let's just start quickly before we get into anything else, because you are reintroducing yourself to a lot of people who have been here before or coming back, and people are wondering, who is this guy? Goody, how have things been over the last little while, and what have you been up to?
Man, it's been good. Man, I also wanted to shout out like Super Sim in the chat, Snake. I saw a few other names earlier. I'm trying to keep up with it, but it's so cool to see everyone from the Leafs Digest channel when we had that run in. So I guess quick little backstory. Phil and I did the Leafs Digest together for what was like a couple of years, and we
Yeah.
built that channel up. Obviously, both went our separate ways logistically to like different brands and whatnot. I actually took myself out of content creation, was doing more sort of corporate work, but I will make a comeback to the content game one day. We'll see what happens there. But I mean, since then, I've got engaged. I have a daughter now. So some real big life moves, honestly. So content careers on the sideline for now. But man, what an opportunity to come on today. It's a pleasure to be here, Philly.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. I've kind of teased or like brought up here and there and dropped little nuggets about things that are going on with you and why you weren't coming to the channel. I remember we used to do back in the day. Sorry, this is all reminiscent for the two of us, but when one of us couldn't come on, we'd make up some outrageous reason why that person wasn't on the show that night. I've been asked about you before, and I've dropped some little nuggets here or there, but most of them have been like real. And I don't think people in the chat fully knew that some of those things were real. So I would just throw those things out. But Goody, obviously, congratulations. And getting congratulations from the chat. I guess the only other major change that you didn't mention there is that you lost the mullet and I kept mine.
Yeah, bro, I told you I'm on the sidelines in the content game. You know, there will be clues when I'm coming back, and a mullet's going to be one of them.
Okay, all right. Let's get into the game here tonight. Let's start with this. This is the second time the Leafs have played the Tampa Bay Lightning on an Amazon Prime night, and it's the second time they've got up for them. This is honestly an awesome game here. The second period ended up being pretty much like a little bit of a sleeper, and then out of nowhere we get a goal, and it seems like this team all of a sudden has some life in it, and the game has some life in it here yet again. Goody, what was like your main takeaways from this one here tonight? Because it feels like this is a team that's kind of been digging over the last like 10, 15 games to find or bring back some type of identity, and this felt like one of those ones here where they may have started to make their way back in the right direction off of what the momentum was that they had built on Saturday night against Montreal.
Yeah, Tampa really came out late and put on the pressure, but this Leafs team, I mean, I said this about old Leafs teams as well, but they're dangerous and they came through. Austin Matthews, for all the flack he's taken, is still so consistent. William Nylander, I feel like I got a lot of catching up to do just with opinions on the guys and the seasons they're having, but this was a great game. The Tampa Leafs matchups are always good, man. So, I mean, strategically, like I said, Tampa really came on late. It was a bit of a sweat there at the end. Marner gets the empty netter as well, which was good. A little bit of stat padding for him. I mean, not a ton of specific opinions on the game here, other than it was good to see Matthews continuing to score. This is what, 4 straight games for him?
I believe so at this point. I think that was 4 straight. He's been on fire since returning from injury here, honestly. I think I was like looking at a stat the other day, heading into the Saturday game. At that point, he had like 11 points in his last 7 games, which I think was the point in which he had returned from injury. Just kind of it's not the thing for me though with it is, yes, the points on the board are great and him being able to score goals is great, but Goody, like the one thing that we had seen drop off for him this year was not really production. He was visibly plagued by something. Like there was something going on in his game every single time he stepped on the ice where his shot was just off. His passing was just off. He was a step behind in certain situations. And he's such a talented player. He's going to be able to score goals. Like he's going to be able to get on the board and produce points. But I think even here tonight, and I tweeted it out during the game, like AM34 is looking like AM34 again. This game tonight kind of was one of those solidifying moments for me watching him play that said, Austin Matthews is back to being Austin Matthews again, because that was a concern. Alberga and I had expressed it. Rosie had expressed it on the show here before too as well, was like, you know what? It's great that he's doing those things, but he doesn't look right. Something seems off. It finally feels now that Austin Matthews looks right.
Yeah, agreed. He definitely looks like he's getting into the rhythm of it, which is awesome. And what's cool about the Leafs this year is they've kind of filled his shoes by committee a little bit. I mean, Nylander's put the team on his back a bit. But Matthew Knies breakout season, even guys like Bobby McMahon have come up huge. It doesn't feel like the old teams where if Austin Matthews wasn't out there getting a point a game, we weren't producing. Now we've got a bit of a deeper lineup of guys that have come into their potential. So I mean, it's allowed him to ease back in, I think, which is really nice without the pressure, and he's looking deadly again, which is sweet.
Honestly, this is a good question to ask you because the last time I've talked with you about it, it was a while ago. Where are you at on goaltending, and are you surprised at all? I mean, like big picture, are you surprised at all with Joseph Woll's development and where he's at, kind of pushing himself to be the number one guy here in Toronto right now?
Bro, honestly, I always felt like him coming up through the system, I thought he would end up being the starting goaltender at some point. In hindsight, I think it's even taken a bit longer than I thought it would have. I know there was a bit of complications too with injuries and whatnot, as there always is. But no, I look at this Leafs team, and I think that we're pretty deep in terms of goaltending. I know we don't have like a Vasilevsky or someone that's going to go out there and be a top 3, top 5 goaltender in the league, but when you look at how deep we have or how deep the goaltending is, I think it's impressive. And I do think Joseph Woll is probably the best goaltender we have on roster. So bit of I wouldn't say a breakout season for him, but kind of just a steady transition of him being the go-to guy, which is nice to see. And I think I at least felt like I knew it was coming for a few years.
Yeah, it is kind of nice too. Like you look at the year last year with Samsonov and you're looking at some kind of platooning and then you see injuries here and there. You're having guys go in and out. We're looking at Matt Murray. Is this guy going to come back? Like there was a lot of conversation around goaltending. This has kind of been the first season that we're looking at with these guys going, you know what? Everything feels calm. Everything's starting to feel steady in the net. There's been a plenty of times here where it's like, you know what? The goaltending has saved us or won us games in a lot of these situations. Joseph Woll has been unbelievable so far to this point. Mike Batson, Woll could be Vezina winner someday. He has the talent. I don't know, Goody. I was hoping it was going to be this year. I put a big bet on Joseph Woll. I ended up cashing out of it because I could get a full cash out basically when he was injured at the beginning of the season. I was like, yeah, this thing's over. I still don't think he wins this year, but I was hoping it was this year. Yeah, I mean, like, the guy's taking steps, right? And I'm watching a game here tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning where Tampa, on the other side of things, is generating 30 shots. Joseph Woll stands tall in net there and ends up walking away with this one with a 900 save percentage. Like, you and I used to go on and talk about, what you want your goaltending. Like, we would be celebrating 900s because we weren't getting it that often. Here tonight, the guy's making massive saves, 27 saves on 30 shots against. Just another unbelievable night from him, and just continuing what's been a really, really steady year in the crease, and kind of combined with some good defensive play, which is not something that you were used to when we were doing the coverage of this together.
No, and that's why we were begging for just a 900 save percentage. Like, it's well, truth be told, we needed more than that, obviously. But that's actually an interesting next point. Is I'm excited to hear what you think about, and I'm sure everyone on the channel has already heard this time and time again from you, but the blue line of this Leafs team, like, where do you stack it up versus years past? Like, where do you think we're at? Is this a champion level blue line? Does it need to get added to? What are the thoughts on that?
I think it needs to, and it will get added to, but this is honestly the closest I think they've been in the entire Matthews era, and probably longer with their defensive core. Like, looking at, and even looking at this game here tonight, the Prime broadcast is doing highlight reels of Jake McCabe making, like, poke checks. Like, that's an insane comment to make, like an insane thing to think about, but just consider where we've been defensively in years past. We're looking at defensemen like Martin Marincin and Justin Hall, who are playing in your top four, who are eating up minutes because we're being told, end quote, he can play on the penalty kill or whatever the hell it may be, blocks shots. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing? This guy's eating up 18 to 20 minutes a night playing in your top four. Now your top four is consisting of Morgan Rielly, Jake McCabe, Chris Tanev, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And yeah, some of these guys are in the later ends of their career. And yeah, Morgan Rielly hasn't had that great of a season. But even that being said, this decor is completely solid. Like, that play there at the end of the game too. I'm assuming you caught it. Was Brayden Point pulls it to the backhand, rips it upstairs, hits Joseph Woll's shoulder, hits the crossbar, bounces down on the line. And yes, Tanev not only makes the save on that one, but if you even look at the play a little bit deeper, it's recognizing where he is on the ice, recognizing where Tampa's offensive players are on the ice, making sure he gets his ass inside, and they're not going to have a clean lane to that puck to put it in the empty net, and he cleans it off the line. Like, these are just guys who are quietly slotting in as like 3-4 air quotes there here in Toronto, because I think that the first and second pairings could probably interchangeable depending on who plays with who, especially. But I don't know, Goody. Like, this is the best defensive core that I've watched in a defensive group that I've watched in a long, long time. And yes, they need to be improved upon, but it's been night and day from what we've seen in years past.
No doubt, man. And I love the Ekman-Larsson addition. For a guy who's pretty deep into his career, like, he can still move. He's still so physical. He's got offensive upside. Like, he's the big 6 foot whatever heavy offensive defenseman that we dreamt of a long time ago. Now, I get it. It's later in his career, so it's not perfect. But yeah, I mean, we look at the additions and the subtractions, to be fair, like getting a Justin Hall out of there. I hate being sold on this guy's a penalty killer. It's the worst sales pitch on a player ever. It's like,
dude, the guy went to Detroit and he's getting healthy scratched, and we were like selling him as a top 4 defenseman here because he could kill penalties.
It's a ridiculous sales pitch on a guy that he's a penalty killer. Look, any half decent player who is completely bought in and wants to hustle can learn to kill penalties effectively. You don't need to keep a guy that dismal in your lineup just based on the fact that he's a quote unquote penalty killer. Yeah, that one is still a mystery to me. Also a big coaching change since I've last chatted Leafs with you. That'd be interesting to discuss at some point. But yeah, man, this blue line is definitely good. Tanev's an awesome addition. Again, older guy, but I think if anything, we appreciate the veteran presence. It's been really cool to watch.
let's get into some of that coaching there, because I think a night like this is a night where you can dig into it. How many times have you and I had conversations on or off air, about being out coached or overthinking from the coach behind the bench for the Maple Leafs? And obviously that was Sheldon Keefe. And I look at all the matchups of Keefe versus John Cooper, and basically shitting my pants heading into each of those, going like, this guy's going to coach circles around Keefe. I watch a game like tonight, and I watch the deployment of the lines. I watch how straightforward and like not overthinking Berube is with how he approaches the media, how he's putting in the lines out, all that kind of stuff. What do you make of Craig Berube so far this season? And I mean, a game like this here tonight, where you get up and you get going right away on prime night here against this Tampa team, where you know they're going to come in rocking, like, you got to think that some of that has to do with the coaching.
Yeah, and definitely, I won't lie. I mean, the Leafs have had great regular seasons before, so it's hard for me to blow out of proportion what Berube's done so far, other than to say it's been good, which has been kind of a standard for the Leafs, which is great. I like his demeanor a lot more, but for me, it's also just a bit of a trust factor, because when we'd have those slippery moments in a regular season where, a Sheldon Keefe would get out coached by a John Cooper, it's like he had no resume before being a Leaf. Like, yes, for sure, he had done things in lower pro levels, which is great, and he was hailed as this really high potential coach. But still, we were holding on to him after so many blunders that it was hard for me to get through those bad nights and be like, oh, it's part of the bigger picture. Let's just, push this night to the side and trust that Keefe has a plan. I got disillusioned at a point where I'm like, no, this guy has no NHL resume. I'm tired of believing he's some messiah. Like, let's give me a guy that's won a Stanley Cup like Berube. So when the Leafs have a hiccup night, I can actually forgive it. He can handle the media like a pro and believe there is a bigger thing we're building towards. So the calmness, the trust, that's a big thing for me. Berube still has a lot to prove with the Leafs, but the trust is something that keeps me more steady mentally than I was with Keefe at the helm. And I mean, he has a resume that speaks for itself, and I'm hoping it translates to the postseason.
All right, we got a couple of super chats here, so I want to get to those. Obviously, that's something we've continued over onto this channel here or wherever I've gone. But Goody, I don't know if you've seen this. We do have a charity partner for our super chats here on the Leafs Nation After Dark, and as well on the Leafs Morning Take, and that would be Sick Kids. Proceeds from our super chats go to Sick Kids Charity Hospital. It is an unbelievable cause that we are a part of here and get to be a part of on this show. So any super chats that you guys are sending, proceeds from those do go to Sick Kids. But let's get to those that we've got here right now. All right, so sang them with the first super chat. Do you think constantly being outshot is a long-term problem that will impact playoff success, or whether it's just a feature of their defensive style? I'll take this first here, Goody, and then I'll let you jump in on it. And if you disagree, speak up here. But I mean, I don't think it's a long-term problem. It's also contextual, right? Like, what is the context of the situation? You got outshot 30-28 here tonight. We're not talking about a 47-20 shot differential where you didn't deserve to be in it and you found a way because you got lucky. The other team's goaltending was not that great, or yours was unbelievable. So the context of these matters. In a game like this tonight, I don't even think about that. I'm not even looking at it. I could give less of a fuck what the final shots were in a night like this. That being said, I do think an element of this is because they are playing some more defensive style of hockey, and I think, sounds counterintuitive, but what I'm going to say is that the other team is just being forced to try to put things on net because they're maybe not getting as prime of opportunities. So if you look at the quality of chances created by the other team, maybe in some of those instances, it hasn't been that amazing. There's been a couple of times over the last 10 games here where things have gotten a little bit out of hand and Leafs have gotten lucky with some of the goaltending that they've had. But I think as long as you're minimizing the kind of quality of chances created by the other team, I don't really care. And ultimately, towards the end of a game, especially in a game state like this, you have to expect that the other team is just going to start to shoot more. You're going to go into a defensive style of hockey. You're playing Tampa. You know that they could score. You're just going to kind of try to shut things down and just take away the middle of the ice, which maybe then results in Tampa shooting from further out on the peripheral, or trying to get things through from the point, or getting across the line and putting things on net, which all count as shots on goal, but maybe all shots on goal are not created equal, and maybe that's where we should be looking instead. So ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter that much as long as a couple of things remain in play. One, you're not just getting absolutely dummied on the score or on the stat sheet after. And two, the quality of those chances is not astronomically high, and they're not generating insane amounts of expected goals and opportunities. If you're just getting pucks on net and they're coming from like the top of the circle and there's no traffic, I'm okay with that.
I like what you said there about not all shots on goal are created equal. I think that's a good point of the argument here is when you're playing tight defensive hockey, they're just looking to get pucks on net and create havoc, which can lead to a disproportionate story in terms of the stats for shots on goal. I mean, I still would consider it a little bit concerning just because the big knock on the Leafs has never been in the offensive end, at least in this era of the Leafs. It's been defensively. So I think in the second half of the season throughout it's hopefully something that will improve because it's not completely stress-free thinking about the disproportionate shots. But to your point as well, it doesn't always paint an accurate picture of who is putting on the real deadly pressure in the game. So I guess I'm kind of agnostic on that point in that I still don't like it. I want it to change. But I think as long as the Leafs have been winning and doing as well as they are, it's not something that needs to be harped on too badly.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, like, that's a good point of like, this is something where you're looking at these guys and being like, defensively, we need to, that's the thing in our game that we need to elevate year after year after year. You've got guys who can score 70 goals. Nylander put up multiple 40-goal seasons. Like, they can do it. Marner can put up 99 points. It's like you can add these things up like that. But how are we going to perform defensively? How can you play a playoff style of defense? As long as that can continue to build into your style of play throughout the course of a season, I think you're going to be in a good place. We do got another super chat here, so let's get to this one. How about that too, Goody? The last time we were doing super chats and stuff, we had these like bunk ass animations that we were making ourselves. Now we've got like a whole team behind us making these fancy graphics, the sounds and everything. We have a virtual studio that you can see. Like before, it used to be just me and Goody on Zoom. Couldn't see anything, but we've come a long way. We've come a long way here on the
long way.
This one comes from Dan Freeman. Dan, thank you again for the super chat there. Dan says, holy shit, Zack, bringing the Goody tonight. Blast from the past right there. Goody shit. Was Marner spent after that empty net goal? He looked pissed off. What were your thoughts on Mitch Marner's play here and how he reacted after that empty net goal?
So I was in my kitchen back and forth watching the game, and I saw him score the goal, but I missed any mannerisms following that. Can you give me a quick breakdown of it? And also shout out to Dan. Thank you for the super chat, the shout out, and it is so cool seeing these familiar names in the chat. I really want this. I want to be coming back on and whatnot. And I've said before, I'll make a return to the content game. But cheers, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah, he looked pissed off because what happened was Nikita Kucherov took a high stick, which the stick was high, sure, but it was Matthew's stick, which I'm 99% sure, I could be wrong, got him in the shoulder, and he tried to sell it that it hit him in the face, and he was calling for a penalty. And now what you can do in today's NHL is that you can challenge for a high stick, not just a high stick on the puck, but a high stick on the play if that were the case, or the refs could go back and review it. And Kucherov continued to fight with the refs and argue with the refs that there was a high stick that was missed. And as he was going at them, it was creating this delay. And then I think John Cooper at which point decided to call a timeout. They were down 2 then, so then he calls the timeout. And I think that Tampa was probably in that timeout using it to get rest and also take a look at the play and see what was going on. And they kept cutting to Marner on the bench, and he just looked furious that like Tampa was having this time and looking at the iPads. And I'm pretty sure he just kept saying, "What's happening? What's happening? What's going on?" I think that's why he was pissed. I don't necessarily think it was that he was spent. I'm pretty sure he was like, "Are these guys serious?" And honestly, dude, it was the anti Brady Tkachuk. I don't know if you caught the other day. Brady Tkachuk got a stick that kind of grazed by his head, and he like sold it. But he was like reacting to the stick coming by, kind of sold it, and then the refs called a high stick, and then he went and told the ref like there was no high stick, and so then they reversed the call. This is the anti Brady Tkachuk. This missed him, and he reacted like he got hit, and then continued to fight with the ref that he did get hit.
Hey man, I'm there for getting any advantage you can in sports, but from Mitch Marner, it's just something about it at this point. He's such a prima donna. I mean, such a talented player. I still appreciate him as a Leaf, but yeah, he's got this attitude where I think him looking for those kind of advantages just rubs people the wrong way. This is a really interesting topic to come up, not to go completely down a rabbit hole here, but Mitch Marner, like, how's the development of your opinion on him being as a Leaf, especially when you look at contract situation and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, we're opening up a can of worms.
Sorry, maybe this is too big of a rabbit hole, but I've been meaning to talk to you about this for some time.
Well, the whole thing is just playoffs for me, and I think everyone in the chat knows that, and I think most people in the chat would know that. A lot of this season, when he's deserved it, I've given him praise, and people would hopefully know and realize that. And when he's deserved criticism, we've been there to give that criticism. You know, he's been a guy who's kind of, he's a superstar. He's in the limelight here in Toronto. He's a guy who wants to be paid like the best players in the league. There are times where he hasn't shown up, and I mean, honestly, Goodwin being quick to criticize because I feel like he's kind of slagged off in those moments. But right now, like, where we're at, he is he's a guy who's showing up. He really elevated his play when Matthews is out for both periods of time there. He was able to continue to elevate his line mates or be able to complement his line mates well. I think the way he's played this year has been a real positive. And I mean, honestly, and I think people in the chat would agree with this as well, even the Marner defenders, is that he did not start the season very well. For a guy who we had high expectations for in a contract year, he came in pretty slow, and kind of, honestly, kind of concerning for where we were at, because you're like, this is not only a contract year for you, it's a contract year for JT. You can clearly see Tree Living has pushed some chips in here, going out and getting the Tanevs and the OELs and Stolars, who started really well there as well. Like, he's got these pieces, and he didn't really jump in and perform right away. We were very quickly on them for that. But I mean, again, like, even look at a game like tonight, a goal, 2 assists from Marner. He's +2, 2 shots on goal. Like, he finishes tonight with 22 minutes. In a lot of these instances, he has found ways to step up here, Goody, and elevate his play. And when he's done so, I think that I've given him the praise he deserves. There's probably some people in the chat who would disagree, but that's kind of my current I don't know, my current relationship status with Mitch Marner.
Yeah, fair enough, dude. He's so talented. Like, I want him to figure it out. I want the whole group to figure it out, and he's a big part of that. And I've always had the feeling that he's one of those guys that if you let him walk or try to sell high on him or something, you're just not going to end up winning. He's going to go somewhere and rack up a ton of points. And, you know, even if you find a better, let's say, lineup fit for the trade return of what you're getting, you know, it's just, you're going to look foolish letting go of a guy that talented. Maybe push comes to shove at some point, but I do hope he figures it out as a Leaf, you know, all the prima donna characteristics aside.
All right. I'm trying to think. What else do we got? Well, we got to get to. Oh, Matthew Knies is one thing that I want to touch on. Guy finishes here tonight with 2 goals. Obviously, it'll be something I dig into later, and I'll do this as the last thing, and then I'll let you go, and we'll wrap up with some of our closing segments here on the show as well, Goody. But Matthew Knies was just kind of this concept, an idea when you and I had first started. I think he was just being drafted. He's this kid at Minnesota. What could he be? Big power forward, etc., etc. He's really come into his own. He came in, made an immediate impact with this team when he jumped into that first series against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Continues that over into last season. Continues to build up on what he had already done this year. I mean, we're looking at a guy who is a difference maker every single time he's stepping on the ice here. He goes through a little dip. He goes and basically publicly calls himself out and acknowledges and takes accountability for his level of play. He says to the media, like, thank you guys for finally calling me out. And then, one thing that I feel like we've always looked at with this team is, oh, we're playing Tampa. There's the Leafs killer. It's Nick Paul and it's Brandon Hagel, and they've got the Leafs killer. In Montreal, they've got Josh Anderson. He's the Leafs killer. And these are games that we lose and teams that we lose to. I did a game preview here earlier today, and I gave out the best bet, which we will dig into later, but is Knies anytime goal. And a lot of my reasoning, even just from the number aside, was we finally have a guy that I look at when we play these other teams and go, he's a Tampa killer. He's a guy who finds a way to get on the board in any kind of capacity every single time he plays Tampa. Like, he is the Tampa Bay Lightning kryptonite. And goody, he's a kid. Like, he's a kid. And it's something we're quick to forget. I've been incredibly impressed with his play this year, his maturity, how quickly he's developed, how he's taking this in stride. I mean, what have you made of Matthew Knies this season? And, I mean, specifically his play here tonight as well.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of him. He had all those things that were so attractive as a prospect, the size, the goal scoring prowess. There was so many things about him that, it's funny. He was this like mysterious project last time that we were doing the show together. But yeah, I mean, he's fully flourished into a guy who can become a killer against really top end teams, which is something we've lacked. Like, it's always been the big boys didn't show up. And I mean, he's kind of slotted himself in with the big boys now, but truth be told, he is more of I guess at his profile is more of a depth player that's scoring for you when you bring him up in the lineup. But he's going to hit a good number on his goal total this year. He always seems to be he doesn't have this skill that blows you away until he's scoring the goal, which I find really interesting. I don't think he's like a miraculous puck handler. I just think he's quick, hard-nosed, and has a really good knack around the net. And it's been cool to watch him around guys that are great puck handlers, that can get him open, that can create those situations for him. I mean, goal scoring comes at a premium. So when you can find a guy that at his age can put up this many goals against really good teams too, it's just rare and it's exciting. And when you're a team as good as the Leafs, you're going to need to find young guys or guys on friendly contracts who can do that if you hope to win, because you have so many guys making big dollars.
I've just been so impressed with just the level-headedness, how well he's taken everything that's kind of gone on here. It's a big market. They can get on you quickly. I mean, even in that period of time where we saw him dip a little bit, we're coming on doing post-game shows, and I've got people in the chat, what are you going to say about Knies? Like, this guy stinks tonight. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I know. He's struggling here, but I think it'll be okay. And, I mean, it's kind of proven to be right over the last little while. He's really stepped up. He took it on the chin that he wasn't playing well, and I mean, looking at that goal, too, it's like you're playing with, which I think is something that can often get overlooked. Like you hear comments and they're funny a lot of times and sometimes could be true, but it's like, yeah, if I played with Matthews and Marner, I could bury 10, 20 goals too. Well, that play tonight that Matthew Knies scores on, not the power play, the other one that he scores on, where it's him who gets the puck on the wall. He hits a little stop-up step. He dishes it inside to Matthews as he's breaking out of the zone. As Matthews goes up, he curls underneath to find the right spot to support in, who Matthews dishes it across. He makes a nice, confident move on the player in the neutral zone and tries to hit a stop back. Matthews swoops through and picks it up. Like, you're just hitting give and goes with the best player in the world, thinking and reacting and acting at the same speed mentally and physically as one of the best players in the world. I shouldn't have said best player. I'm going to take some heat from people who are not Leafs fans on that, but one of the best players in the world. And then even on top of that, it's just the awareness, right? It's Matthews cuts across, then attacks on the left side. Marner fills in the gap in behind as the high guy. Well, where does Matthew Knies go? To the net. And it's Matthews back to Marner. Marner across to Knies. He pulls that thing from the backhand to the forehand and scores. You've got to be able to keep up with those guys if you're going to do so. And there's so many elements that go into it. It's the mental, it's the physicality, it's the speed. And a lot of it too is, can you finish? You get that opportunity in front. Can you finish? Well, he did, and he finds ways to do that, and he continues to find ways to do that. So, I mean, I've just been so happy with the development of this guy and the fact that it feels like we finally kind of like hit on a guy who can find his way into the top of this lineup, hang with the big boys, and, I mean, again, make impacts on the power play there, which I think would hopefully continue to heat up here after what we've seen from the first 46 fucking games of the year, where it finally took 47 and 48 for them to get anything going. But, you know, he could be a big piece of that, and I think he'll be a big guy who's really important in the playoffs as well.
Well, and situationally for the team too. I agree with everything you just mentioned there. He's fit in so perfectly, but you know, it's hard for a team who's been having tons of consecutive winning regular seasons to build through the draft while in their contending window. And then they've got a bunch of guys that have come up for a contract after his like great seasons. You had to pay them, had to find a way to make the money work. So to add a top line talent who's going to be scoring 20 plus goals for you and looking like that alongside Austin Matthews, you know, that's hard to just find from within. And you know, not needing to make a trade to make it happen. It really begs the question of like, what would the Leafs be looking like dynamically without a Matthew Knies slotting in there? But undoubtedly, we like it better with him there. And the fact that we got this at a minimal cost through the draft is really exciting. It's kind of a rarity in this era of Leafs. We've had our guys that were drafted and we built around them. So to have another one join in a little bit late into the contending window is awesome. And I've loved what I've seen from him.
Anything else to add for you here tonight, Goody? Any other final thoughts before we get you out? I do appreciate you coming through. This has been pretty awesome. I'm hopefully everyone in the chat here has appreciated this one and enjoyed this one here tonight as well.
Oh no, bro, nothing too much to add. I mean, I appreciate anyone who's showing love right now and everyone who just you know, sat in to hear me chat with you for a little bit and shoot it. It's been awesome. I hope to come back on again soon.
Yes.
Maybe this is the year. Hopefully, got some exciting post games coming up. But yeah, bro, want to get back into the content game at some point soon. And all the kind words and warm welcome from the chat was really nice.
Well, Goody, I appreciate you coming on. You're welcome back here anytime, obviously. For anybody who knows, like Goody and I started the channel together back in the day. We grew that thing up, built it all up together, and then both ended up departing. And I think it's kind of been probably for the best for both of us that we ended up going on our own paths, considering where we both are currently at this point. So I think it ended up working out, but it was us grinding out videos and rumors and reactions and everything on a daily basis for us to be where we are right now. And I owe a lot to you and I appreciate you a lot. So thanks for stopping by here, Giddy.
Likewise, brother. Thank you so much. I'll chat with you soon.
Sounds good. There you go. Josh Goodwin, the man who helped me start not only the Leafs channel and reacting to everything and post-game shows and all that kind of stuff, but actually helped launch what ended up becoming my career. Like, this is what I'm doing full time here now. And if it wasn't from him giving me a call one day and saying, hey dude, do you want to do this post game show or this Leafs channel, then who knows if this would be the case? Who knows if this channel would be happening? So really appreciate Goody and appreciate him joining us here on the post game show tonight. With that, we've got a few more things to get to. We've got some super chats. We've got some final segments here to get to. So let's get to the first one, and that would be from So Sangnam. So Sangnam appreciates the super chat there, and remember, proceeds from our super chats do go to Sick Kids, so thank you. Thank you all who are sending those. So Sangnam says, thoughts on how much of an effect injuries and rotating forwards have had on giving up more goals lately when using the 2-1-4 check early/mid game. There is a comment here as well from Samurai. Definitely would look a bit nicer if they were healthy. Thoughts on how much of an effect injuries and rotating forwards have had on giving up more goals lately when using the 2-1 forecheck early / mid game. I mean, the kind of cop out answer here, in all honesty, would be, I think a lot of systems right now are getting kind of I don't know the right word, like not jumbled, but like a lot of the systems are having to be sorted out on the fly because you're getting guys who are popping in and out from the Marlies and guys coming in and out of the press box and guys going on IR constantly. And these aren't like Nick Robertson and David Kampf, Pontus Holmberg that we're looking at a consistent basis who are going out. It's Jake McCabe, who plays 22 minutes. It's Austin Matthews. It's John Tavares. Like, these are some big pieces that are pushing guys up into specific roles and slots modified. Thank you, Sean Robertson. That was probably the better word for me to use in that situation that I just couldn't get to. Modified. But a lot of these systems are having to be modified, thank you, Sean, because they're just kind of missing some important pieces who eat up big minutes. Now, that's the cop-out answer, and that's the generic way to kind of approach it. The one thing that I would say here, and kind of what I would be looking for going forward, especially on this point of so saying how much of an effect injuries and rotating forwards have had on giving up more goals lately when using the 2-1 forecheck early / mid game. This is something that over time needs to tidy up, no matter who is in and who is out. And the reason I say this is because if you get to the playoffs and God forbid, but, John Tavares goes down and he's got to miss a game or two. Or think about last year against Boston. Nylander missed games. Matthews missed games. If you end up in a situation like that, can the guys who are there and filling in those roles find ways to, be next man up and step in? I look at a guy like Bobby McMahon. He's done an exceptional job no matter what line he's playing on, no matter who he's playing with, no matter where he's playing in this lineup. McMahon has really elevated play and found ways to kind of plug and play, I guess is the right way to put it. He's a plug and play guy. He can go in that spot and go in that role, and he can succeed. The other guys who are going in there just need to find a way to excel in those roles, and maybe you just have to become very good at the system. And if you become good at the system, then it helps you no matter who or what the competition is that you're going up against. So as for what the forecheck is, I think it's probably something that you'd want to have going forward, because another thing would be, like, with this 2-1 and what you're talking about, you would like for yourself to be in this position with the 2-1. It puts a lot of pressure on the opposing team defensively as they're trying to break out of the zone. It puts a lot of pressure down low and keeps things as much as you can below the goal line. There's a lot to it. And yeah, injuries are going to play a factor, but you got to find a way to get through it. We do have a couple more super chats that I want to get to and will get to here. But before we do, we did hit 50 likes here on the show. Well, we hit 57 here right now, so we still could get to 100, especially with about 200 people watching tonight's show. I have some smelling salts. I got to get to the smelling salts here now. Thank you to everyone who liked. At 50, we do the smelling salts. At 100, we do the smelling salts. So let's get to it here. Thanks for liking. Oh. That one I can feel in my throat. Like, oh, there you go. I got smelling salts over my desk. What a mess. All right. Anyways, let's get to the super chat. Super chat here from Samurai. Samurai says, for the kids. Samurai, thank you very much. Appreciate that. The other super chat that we have here is from the legend, Tammy. Thank you, Tammy, for the super chat. Tammy says, super chat for the wholesome story. Cheers, Zack and Leafs Nation. Tammy, thank you. There you go, Vic. Vic's going for a dart there with the 50 likes. We got smelling salts on the stream. Vic's going for a dart behind the scenes. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate Goody hopping on. Thank you to everyone here as well. Like, there's so many people who are in here watching right now, um, who there's so many people who are in here watching right now who have been watching since day one, following me on whatever channels I've been on, following me on whatever accounts I've been on, who have gotten to this point. Tammy, I know, said that only found out about me. Tammy said it only found out about me. She only found out about me from this channel, and that's probably what happened with a lot of you. And to those of you who found out about me from here, well, I'm glad that you stuck with me. So thank you. But yeah, pretty cool. It was Goody. Yeah, Mario Valella there stuck along for a while. But yeah, Goody called me one day. I'm not kidding. He called me one day and said, "Hey man," Mark there as well. Michael Kirkpatrick has been with me for a while, I think, as well. But yeah, Goody called me and said, "Hey man, do you want to start a Leafs channel?" I was like, "Do I?" And I said, "Yeah, sure I do." And we started grinding from then, and here we are. All the world's a stage. I'm sure the salts are bad. I'm not doing them every day. Not doing them every day. Okay. Frank Suffern says, "Zach, everyone I know talks about you constantly." Well, cool. Thanks. All right. Let's continue on. What else we got here tonight? Let's get to our best bet segment. let's get to our best bets from tonight as Vic is fucking around in the chat there. Our best bets brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Leafs Nation pregame and Leafs Nation after dark. Open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, NATION, all caps, NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Okay. I already said it earlier what happened, but if you haven't been following along with the pregame show, this is just another opportunity for me to remind everyone in the chat right now, you need to be subscribed here to the channel, the Leafs Nation 401. You need to turn on YouTube notifications, and specifically notifications for this channel. You need to like the stream. You just got to throw that in there as well. But we're doing game previews. I specifically am doing a game preview for every single well, I shouldn't say every single game because Nick did one. And I didn't ask for it to not be on it. Just Nick did that one little crossover with the Canucks boys. But for basically all of the games, 99% of the games, I'm doing a game preview show, talking about the lines for that night and giving out best bets. And we are now on a heater here on the Leafs Nation pregame show. We hit this one tonight. It was a Matthew Knies anytime goal scorer, cashes and profits us $150, which, guess what, brings us back up to 0.6 units on the season. It was 3 games ago. We were down 5 units. 5 units. We were down full 5 units on the show. And we have now battled our way back with 3 consecutive winners. A Nylander anytime goal, plus 210 against the Devils. A Bobby McMahon anytime goal, plus 400 against the Montreal Canadiens. And a Matthew Knies anytime goal, plus 300, profits us 150 here tonight. That is 3 in a row, cashes plus 300 for Matthew Knies. Look, there's not too much I can get into in this breakdown. He scores 2 tonight, which just makes the bet feel even better. It also actually kind of makes me kick myself and be like, why didn't you bet 2+ or whatever? But obviously would have had to dig into some of those a little bit more. But we cashed the Knies anytime goal, and the guy was all over it tonight. Creating chances. He scores 2 here for the Leafs. And I mean, the handicap going in was obviously a good number, but additionally he's the net front guy on the power play. JT's not there, which means more responsibility goes to him. And then let's just also throw in this on top. Oh, Matthew Knies is the kryptonite to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, Matthew Knies is the Tampa Bay Lightning killer at this point. He finishes tonight with the 3rd most expected goals. Bobby McMahon had the 1st, Mitch Marner 2nd, Matthew Knies 0.45. So those are it just makes you feel good about it. It makes you feel like you had the right idea about what the bet should have been, and we ultimately end up cashing. So it makes you feel much, much better. Huge W for Zack's spreadsheet. Thank you. The spreadsheet is dialed. It's plug and play. You know what? Actually, I stink at spreadsheets. Like, actually stink at spreadsheets. But I found a way to dial this one in here, and it's been pretty good for us this year. Okay. That's our best bet. And by the way, subscribe to the channel. Leafs Nation 401. You should just be subscribed. You should just subscribe. Then you don't miss anything. Post games, pre games, Leafs Morning Take, the producer Vic, the best producer in the game. I mean, now I'm producing on the network, so I'd like to throw myself and my name in the hat there, or in the ring, whatever you want to call it, and say that maybe I could get there one day as well. But for the time being, Vic holds the crown. He just does. So it's fair enough. Leafs Morning Take, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, every day, that is. Make sure to check that out as well. And if you like this show and you like that show as well, you should just come and see the show live, and it'll be live in Nashville, March 20th to 23rd, where we will be doing live podcasts. We will be going to a Preds Leafs game, and we'll be doing a wine tour, going to Love and Elixir Bar, some reactions, lots of cool stuff down in Nashville from March 20th to 23rd. Head on over to nationgear.ca. You're not going to want to miss it. Producer Vic, Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, Carter Hutton, myself, we will all be down there in Nashville from March 20th to 23rd, and you can join us if you head on over to nationgear.ca. Flight packages, non-flight packages, we've got it all, but you don't want to miss this, so make sure to head on over to nationgear.ca. Check it out now. There's no way around that. I mean, I tested that animation 3 times before the show started. The show starts, and then it just does that again. And it just goes to white screen. I mean, there's nothing. I can't help myself. I can't get around it. So, I'm sorry. Okay, what else do we got here? The other thing I want to touch on, as we're about to get into our play of the game, the other thing I want to touch on is Matthews attempting the Michigan. That was the cleanest Michigan I think that I've seen him get off with in game here. Like, I watched him pick that puck up in motion around the back of the net and started thinking, oh shit. And as he got around the side and as he goes to scoop that thing up and go top corner, I'm like, this one actually has a chance. He was in motion. He was moving quickly. He kind of just did it very smoothly, very clean, in motion. And we've seen him do other ones, which were a little sneaky. He's kind of tried to pick it up while he's like looking at the back of the net or trying to move around. This one was the most, as 6 1/3 there says, organic. It was the most organic Michigan. He kind of gets that one in motion, and I thought it had a chance. But I just wanted to shout out that play because I thought that one was going to be like the most legit chance that he had at getting it. We've got another super chat here. So saying them. Stealing a segment from the morning show, which little known fact, and I'm pretty sure Vic can back me up. He's in the chat here. I believe that I was the originator of Take It or Leave It on the morning show when I filled in for Alberga in the summer. Just throwing it out there, and Vic can confirm, but I'm pretty sure that happened. So Sangnam says, thank you for the super chat. Take it or leave it. They finish 5th to 10th in both expected goals for, or in both goals for and goals against, not expected, sorry, in goals for and goals against, and finish top 5 in the league by the end of the season. Is there a catch that I'm missing? Because I think I'd take this. And I don't even think it's a question. So saying him. I appreciate the super chat, but I don't even think that this is a debate. I think you take that all day. Like I read that question like 4 times because I'm like, is there something I'm missing? I think you just take it. Like you gotta just take that. All day. Yeah, if there's debate in the chat, send it, but I'm pretty sure just take. Like, unless I'm missing something, this is an automatic take. All right, anyways, let's get to our next segment. Let's get to our play of the game. See, all my other animations work smoothly. Diz K says, wait, both at the same time? I'd leaf it. No. So Sangnam says they're basically on the edge in terms of top 10 goals for and goals against right now is all. Oh, okay. So yeah, take it. Take it. Automatic. Okay, play of the game. Play of the game for me is going to be the Matthew Knies goal that he scored where he ends up finding his way out of the zone, making incredible passes with Matthews and little give and goes, and then getting himself into open ice where he then ends up receiving the pass from Marner cross ice and pulls it from the backhand to the forehand and tucks. That is easily the play of the game for me because, I mean, again, I talked about this earlier, but this honestly just showed such a high level of hockey IQ by Matthew Knies on that play. To pick that puck up on the wall in your own zone, you put your back to the defender, make a little shimmy move to kind of hit him with the stop up and make him go a little bit past you. As he turns back and then goes to move out of the zone, he makes a nice little dish play off to Matthews, who's breaking out. As Matthews steps up the ice into the neutral zone, he then dishes it back to Knies, who goes, and as like this young guy in the league playing top 6, playing on the first line there, he had just gone through this slump. He could have had any excuse in the world to have lost any type of confidence he may have had. He goes and takes a guy on one-on-one in the neutral zone, tries to split the guys, and as he goes through them, it kind of just gets a little bit ahead of him, and then it's Matthews coming through. Like, if you were a minor hockey player and you have not done the weave, I don't know what you were doing, but that was basically like the weave being executed to perfection with the two of them. And then as Matthews cuts across the ice after picking up that puck, cleaning up the loose ends there in the neutral zone, he burns across to the other side and attacks down on the left side wall. Marner then feeds in behind him as high support. Matthews drops it off to Marner, and then I'm watching the play develop, and you kind of just see Knies streaking in down into this open spot across ice, driving towards the net. Like, this guy is so aware, has such a high level of hockey IQ to be in the right presence of mind to go to that spot and not puck watch Matthews and Marner as they dance around on the opposite side of the ice. He enters the zone, he attacks down, gets to open space, and then as Marner passes the puck across, he receives it, pulls it across to his forehand under the defenseman's stick, and buries. It's just a smart play. It's a intelligent, mature play by a guy who is learning the game here still, has a long way to go, but is just showing drastic steps night after night after night here with this team where he is just elevating his play and just kind of just showing you why he deserves that spot and why he deserves that trust. 6 1/3 says Zack with the Costner JFK style explanation. I'm not even gonna lie, I got no idea what that means. I'm not a movie guy at all. Like, I've seen like Moneyball and Miracle on Ice like 200 times each, and that's about it. You lost me on any other kinds of references, so I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, that play, I wanted to just kind of break down everything about why it was so beautiful and why I had such an appreciation for it and why I gave it the play of the game, honestly. Because, I mean, I just watch that guy continue to develop. I know Rosie is going to have to change his underwear after watching this game tonight and probably had to turn the TV off when his wife saw that play. But I am so impressed by him and the skill he's got on display while also being this super strong, impactful power forward, and that goal was awesome. Also, and so saying him, it's honestly impressive how much Knies both offensive and defensive play has improved, even even from the start of this season. Agreed, 100%. Okay. The other ones that I want to shout out was Austin Matthews, the goal that he scored, which again, by the way, is a play from Matthew Knies, who Matthew Knies finishes tonight with 2 goals and an assist. And that goal that was scored by Matthews, I said it, it's like this guy looks like Austin Matthews again. Like he looks like he's back being AM34 that we've come to love. And it's done breaking out of the zone. A pass goes up to Knies. He chips that thing into the middle. Nice little one touch. And Matthews takes it in stride. He is beelining it up the ice. Goes through, exposes the gap. I don't know what the hell happened with the defense there on that play. He goes in with Marner, and all of a sudden the world opens up for him. It's like he's on a breakaway. And he buries that thing 5-hole on Jonas Johansson and beats him clean there with just a beautiful bullet through the legs. Everything about the play and just kind of how Matthews and Knies had connected here tonight. The goal scored by Matthews, like he's on a heater here now. Impressive stretch of hockey from him, and a great play by Knies to chip it into him, and then a great finish by Matthews there as well. Another honorable mention goes to Chris Tanev for saving that puck off the line. It's Brayden Point backhand, hits Wall's shoulder, bounces off the crossbar, bounces down onto the line. We get Chris Tanev kind of block out, get his ass in the way, say you're not going to the front of the net, grabs that thing off the line and cleans it up and gets it out of there. That thing, that game would have been an absolute mess from that point on, honestly. If we're looking at that one, I would have been in shambles if that puck had gone in, because that would have made it 4-4. And Tanev cleans it up, says no, it's not going to happen, doesn't panic. So credit to him for that one as well. Let's get out of here with our final segment and our final segment of the night. Well, actually, yeah, our final segment of the night. I was trying to think. I was like, oh, I thought I didn't do the best bet, but I did do the best bet. Our final segment of the night will be grade of the game. You guys send your grade of the game in here now. I want to know what you guys have, what you guys' thoughts are on tonight's game. I think for me, I'm going to give... Oh, that's a good question. What's Matthew's number for Rocket? Producer Vic asks. The Rockets would be... It might be taken down right now. Or I'm just looking in the wrong spot. I might be looking in the wrong spot. This might be something I need to look at in the future for the Rocket Richard. And then we can come back to it. Honestly, Vic, got me thinking here now. This guy goes on a heater. The only problem, though, is, like, how many goals? Leon Draisaitl has 33 goals in 46 games. Nylander has 27. Austin Matthews has 18. Is he making up 15 goals? Like, that's the problem. Is he making up 15 goals? There would have to be an astronomically high number for me to get involved and give a bet on Matthews Rocket. My grade for tonight, I think I'm going to be in line with the rest of the chat, and we're going to go with the B+. I see a lot of you guys in that range. I see a bunch of you guys in the A's there. I can't quite get to an A. I kind of was leaning towards the A-, but more so to like the high B+ side. So I think I'll just stick with the B+. You finish this night here tonight with Joseph Woll finishing with a 900 save percentage, but I think more impressively than finishing with 900 is the fact that Joseph Woll was making big saves and important saves at big times, at big moments. Like, he was making a ton of them, and he just looked calm and poised and collected. And I'm watching him and knowing Stolarz is coming back, and there's this level of confidence and comfortability with watching these guys go out there on every single night. I'm at yeah, he has 19. Sorry, Vic. That's my bad. Nylander has more now too then, because that's also not updated. 28 for Nylander. But point being, the saves Woll was making, the timeliness of the same saves, he was awesome here tonight, and he had just kind of gotten out of a slump, snapped it a little bit. He's taken on a lot of workload. 900, that's great. We also look at power play. You got one and you scored, which, by the way, we didn't really touch on, but just quickly here, brief thoughts on it. Imagine that. You shoot the puck on net and it goes in. Like, look at the power play goals that were scored against Montreal on Saturday. Ekman-Larsson fires it to the slot. Nick Robertson tips it in. Ekman-Larsson shoots it off the draw, and it finds its way in through traffic. Marner gets the puck at the point, fires it in on net. Obviously, he gets a little bit lucky because it hits a skate and then deflects weird off Johansson, but it's Matthew Knies sitting on the doorstep who corrals the rebound and tucks. You shoot the puck on net, you get to the right spots, and you do simple things and little things right in a game, you're going to have success. That's a success. You won. You scoring on the power play. You go 1 for 1. We have a super chat there as well. Let me get to this because it goes with the grade. Robert Smith with the B-, and he says, are we grading this team like a Cup team's grade or just a Maple Leafs team grade? I mean, I guess I probably could have gone. You're saying I could have gone with like a B or something and not a B+ because you gave the B-. You're saying it's too high? I guess. And again, thank you for the super chat. I don't know. I think that this is still a B+. Like, you're playing a pretty good Tampa team over there that kind of got counted out, and you're still finding ways to, beat them and kind of starting to get to this point where maybe you own them and you're taking it over. And this rivalry is not so much, oh, Tampa's got your number, but you can find ways to take them down here now too. So it's another positive win for that. The penalty kill goes 1 for 2. That obviously comes. Joseph Woll has no stick. He loses that one. Puck goes across from Hedman to Hagel, who zips that one over to Nick Paul. He tips it in. Backdoor. I mean, I'm sticking with my B+. That's going to do it for me here. Appreciate everyone who tuned into the show, who watched this one. Thank you guys as always. If you haven't, or if you're deciding you're going to go out tonight, or if you're trying to make plans for tomorrow or whatever it may be, because you got a night off now on the Tuesday, we're going to have a night off on Thursday and Friday this week, and you're looking for somewhere to go, that somewhere should be Greta. Make sure to check out Greta Bar YYZ. Great spot before, during, and after the game. They've got a great street food menu and games in the arcade. I mean, this is a spot that I love going to. It's a spot that I love hitting up, whether it be to watch games or after, if it's with big groups or if it's smaller, or you want to take somebody on a date, maybe that's a good place to go to as well. My personal favorite is going downstairs at the Greta here in Toronto, hitting up the Connect 4 basketball. I am dominant at the Connect 4 basketball. There's nobody that could beat me at Connect 4 basketball. Head on over there. Producer Vic, he couldn't take me down at air hockey either. Right beside the air hockey, there's a Pop-A-Shot basketball where you're just drilling buckets. Like, it's a great spot to go. Plenty of games, plenty of room, massive venue, two floors. Like, I'm not a person who enjoys going and sweating and bumping shoulders and not being able to talk to people, and you got to scream and you got to put your ear right next to somebody to hear what they're saying. And I mean, this is just the ideal location to be heading, whether it's during the weekday, if it's on a weekend, it does not matter. Make sure to check out Greta Bar, the home of the champion of air hockey, myself, over producer Vic. Weekly drink specials, Greta Bar is the place to be, 590 King Street West. Let the games begin. That's all for today's show. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. Appreciate it as always. I will be back on Wednesday. Feels like every game that the Leafs have played this year, or every week, has been like we go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sundays sometimes, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. It's like, holy, we're just trucking along through these games. And this is the first week where it's not been that. We've got Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. We're back. So a little bit of a break on the Thursday and the Friday here, but I will be back on Wednesday for another post-game reaction, for another game preview here on the channel as well. And the boys on Morning Take will be back at you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to check it all out. Subscribe here, turn on notifications. Until then, this has been game number 48 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning 5-3, moving to 30-16-2 on the season. Thanks as always for watching. Keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.